Yow! How tan do you look?
I know. As the Spanish sunshine, that is.
Sherilyn, Shackell, welcome. This is Marketers in Pajamas.
I have got pajamas on, underneath my jumper. I'm wearing pajama bottoms.
I'm so glad we're chatting. Now, I'm going to talk to the people listening to this. Sherilyn Shackell is the CEO and founder of the Marketing Academy. If you have successfully gone through the Marketing Academy as a scholar, and you'll learn what I'm talking about, then this episode is for you. If you have never heard of it and you haven't gone through it, then this episode is for you, because it's slightly different. So Sherilyn is not a CMO. She's not a marketer, but she is the reason, for a start, probably out of the 30 guests, probably 3/4 of them have come from Sherilyn's intro. So the reason why I get so many guests that I get to unpack and introduce their insights, and the reason why they're so open to me, is because of Sherilyn, right? The intro, because these people are part of the same thing that I am, which is sort of like the marketing mafia. It's like an Illuminati, this secret society across the globe. And what we're going to do is we're going to unpack some of the lessons that Sherilyn has learned about the best marketing minds on the planet, how she has taken their knowledge and introduced it to the up-and-comers to pay it forward. So it's very unique, and it's not just talking to one marketer. Imagine that she is in the brains of thousands.
Just means I've got no original thoughts, right? I just steal it off everybody else. That's what it means.
It probably does. Is that a plane going in the background?
No, I think it was a motorbike.
What people will be asking is, what is the Marketing Academy? And I asked you this, I think about 4.5 years ago, when I hit you up on LinkedIn, because I wanted to launch into the UK at Marketing Week Live on stage, which cost a heap of money. And I saw, what's this Marketing Academy stage? And I thought, if I suck up to that woman who created that, maybe I'll be able to get on her stage in front of all of her audience without paying. And so I hit you up on LinkedIn, and you came back, and then we sort of chatted about what we're doing. And you told me about this weird thing that you give the luckiest marketers on the planet, right? And it just seemed too good to be true. And then, we kept in contact, and I wasn't a marketer, right? So I didn't think it was for me. And then eventually someone nominated me, and then bang, I have been able to drink from the fountain of the Marketing Academy. So tell us what it is.
Well, we're turning the marketing talent of today into the leaders of tomorrow, basically. So we're a place of learning, right? What we do is we enable all of the emerging talent and the young emerging leaders, or younger emerging leaders, marketing, media, and advertising, to go through a program that will develop them in order that they can become board members of the future. So it's a leadership development program plus more. And, our intent is to ensure that everybody that comes into the academy as a scholar or a fellow, and there's 2 programs, becomes the best versions of themselves they can possibly be. And it's an unusual construct because we are a not-for-profit organisation, and our programs are totally free of charge. So there's no barrier to entry from a financial perspective. It's hard to get in. It's very selective. We get thousands of nominations and applications a year around the world. But once they get in, the only real barrier is their own potential, commitment, ambition, capability. And everybody that provides the learning that's embedded in the programs does so on a pro bono basis. So lots and lots of companies, lots of CEOs, CMOs, many executive coaches all gift their time on a pro bono basis, which enables us to not have to charge for any of the programs. So it's an unusual construct. And we're benefiting relatively small groups. So the scholarship program will only take 30 scholars per year per country, and the fellowship program, which is exclusively for CMOs, will only take 20 per year per region. So for relatively small groups, but we too believe that the ripple effect of the learning is profound and very wide.
And started in the UK, and then in Australia, and then the US a couple of years ago. And look, apart from the program itself, which is sort of spread over a year and you do sort of intensive boot camps, you know, for us, we had, executive coaches, one-on-ones. You get 6 sessions over the course of a year, which was transformative. And then also you have all these like half a dozen one-on-ones with mentors. And these mentors are like the top of the top CMOs on the planet, the big brand CMOs. And you're sitting down with them, able to ask them and share your struggles and hear about their tips and tricks and hacks. And it's incredibly personal. Like what is part of this group, because they're paying it forward, it has this sense of huge generosity, which is exactly why when we get them on this show, they sort of let their guard down a little bit and just trust in the fact that they're not a professional in this world. They're a human and they're a leader and they're struggling and sharing their own journey. So I wanted, why did you start it? Where did you come from? And what is the mission?
Well, I guess somebody had to do it. I guess that's where it first came from. And it was back 10 years ago, well, 11 years ago, we started the setup. It took a year to set up in the UK, and then we launched in February 2010 in the UK. And, you know, I've been of the belief for a long time as a headhunter in my previous life. That's what I'd done for 20 years as a board level headhunter. I've been of the belief for years that the CMO should be sitting on the boards. They should be in the centre of the boardroom. And I'd often worked with CEOs and coach CEOs, you know, who were really struggling to grapple the real heart of the customer, to really understand the customer. And my view was, if you didn't put your CMO in the centre of the boardroom, then you were going to fail. But it's an under-invested in function. And at that point, and it's improved since, the CMOs just didn't have enough respect in the boardroom. I think that's changed and is continuing to change, but 10, 11 years ago, it wasn't the case. And also in the agency world, the agencies just don't have the budget to really develop their talent in the way that we do. And I felt that, you know, if companies were going to thrive, and we were heading into a really, really bad recession. And I mean, this was the beginning of 2009 that I began the build. We were in for like years and years of shit. I really believed that without investing in the talent, we were going to have this void in the future of amazing pipeline of leaders. And so I felt that somebody needed to do it. And I'd been through my own kind of personal journey. I'd become very ill, I'd become burnt out, stressed, and had made the decision following an illness that I needed to do something very different with my life. And I wanted off that hideous competitive commercial treadmill and wanted to do something that was more philanthropic or for good, or that would have a better, bigger, wider legacy than just being a headhunter and placing people in jobs. But I did realize that one of my strengths was making connections and building relationships and understanding what drove people and what motivated people. So that's always been part of my kind of superpower kit without knowing about it. And so I needed to find something that could bring those things together. And along with the passion that said, you know, marketing, media and advertising influences every citizen on the planet, what could be more impactful than ensuring that talent in that industry is at its absolute best? So we started with the scholarship, which is for emerging leaders. So in Australia, they're between 10 and 20 years experience. In the UK and the US, 5 to 15. But we were a few years in, and our CMOs who were mentors were saying, oh my God, I wish this had been around, you know, when I was growing up. And can I get access to some of this leadership stuff? Because the scholars are giving me feedback that this is amazing. And with the help of McKinsey, 2 or 3 years later, we launched the fellowship program, which started in the UK and then broadened. And then I think we were about 4 years in, and the number of then alumni had landed down in Australia, so Brits that have gone to Australia. And over a very short period of maybe only about 6 weeks, I think I got something like 7 emails from my community that had gone to Australia saying, Sherilyn, you need to bring it here. And I'm thinking, what? I didn't even thought about taking it anywhere else at that point. And so I had a couple of conversations with some of the influencers down in ours, and everybody goes, yeah, you should bring it. You really should bring it. There's nothing like it. And that was the thing, really. There wasn't anything like it anywhere. In fact, I'm not sure there is now. There's many more, there's a lot of mentoring programs now, some which are charged for, which I'm dead against. Don't think mentoring should be paid for at all. But there's nothing quite like the real cohesive, very multi-layered learning program that we do, and very few that are totally free, but also highly selective. So we then took it to the States. 3 years after we launched in Oz, we took it to the States, and we're just about to open for year 3 in the States for the scholarship, and we've just opened year 2 of the fellowship also in the States. So it's continuing to roll. It's fab.
Yeah. The network effect is the powerful piece in it, because each one has a great experience, starts to nominate other people, and then also as they're rising through the ranks, and they can become mentors, and also just the instant network. Like, as you know, I hit you up, I said, I'm going to New York, we're launching in the States. And, you know, I had 6 great catch-ups and coffees with superstars that you couldn't access. And it's just it's the shorthand. It's the secret handshake. And it goes a long way. Let me tell you, because you know, for those, it's not just talk about marketing and media and advertising. I mean, there's a program in there that Penny Ferguson, one of your friends, has built, and you've packaged it in, called the Living Leader. And, you know, where you sit around, you know, you might be away, and you sit around in a group, and, all right, how's everyone going? And look, you know, at this sort of age, and a professional age, there's a lot of pressures, you know, family. I mean, you know, your own parents are starting to, you know, they've been looking after you. You start to look after them. You sort of reach a bit far with your mortgages. You got your kids. It's probably the time where you need to take a big swing with work, mental health. You're not really seeing a lot of your friends. And like, it just seems to be this little pressure point. And so the Living Leader program is, yeah, like, how are you going? But you know, what inadvertently happens is everyone just dissolves into tears, because it's this safe space to go, oh, not so fucking good if you really think about it. You know, you've carried stuff through, and yeah, it's a really fascinating process that I think all of us need to go through and purge and discuss with other like-minded people in the same situation. The Living Leader program, what do you think are the main takeaways? Because it goes over, you know, certain days, and it's fantastic.
It is amazing. I mean, I'd been on the board of the Living Leader program before I set up the academy, and had I not been, I doubt whether I would have even created it, because what that program does, and it's 2 days of 15 days of the scholarship. So, and all 580 of our alumni have been through that experience. It's embedded in the first boot camp of the first program in every country. And that program is about taking you to your very core. You know, there's no marketing content in that at all. Only about 20% of our curriculum focuses on the skill set. We're much more about working out who you are as a human being, what legacy you're going to leave on the world, what shadow you're going to leave behind you, what your purpose is. And we're embedded in leadership, and the Living Leader helps to provide the template for going forward for everybody. The shared language, the vulnerability, the authenticity, the ability to listen, the real craft of communication, you know, the notion that giving is more powerful than getting, the notion that you should be the best human being you can possibly be, and as long as you're a human being, you have influence over others, and that's our definition of leadership. It isn't, leadership to us is not about hierarchy or authority or how many people you manage or what your job title is. Leadership is about having an impact and influence on another human being on the planet. So we've all got that, right? Everybody has the potential to be an exceptional leader. It's just that often we don't even take the time to think about it. We don't take the time to think about the impact we have on the people around us, the responsibility that we have to engage with others and enable them to be the best versions of themselves. So the Living Leader element of the program does that. And it's constructed in a way that enables people to drop their guard. And that's because we believe that, you know, you have to be the most authentic version of you before you can even begin to earn the right to have an influence over somebody else. So it's really simple stuff. It's just not, it's just not practiced all the time. And the Living Leader is a safe space. All of the programs and we work really hard to create the right kind of environment that all 30 scholars or all 20 fellows, believe that they are completely psychologically safe, so that they can share everything that's going on for them. And that's why, you're right, the magic source, and we never intended or really even thought about it, is the relationships between everybody. Even our alumni are still really close to, we run alumni programs all over the world for them. And they're still really close to us, really close to their cohorts, and are getting closer to the other classes. So that's, of paramount importance to us. But we didn't design it for that. I didn't really think about what kind of knock-on effect that would have and what kind of longevity. Is that your WhatsApp group?
Yeah, I mean, that's how connected we are. I've got 30 people in there, and that was 2 years ago that I did it. And, we're communicating all day, every day. Anyone recommend a maternity leave cover contract at Kmart, head of brand experience? Anyone got a template contract for this thing? Has anyone got a good social media? It's quite phenomenal. So you mentioned the confidentiality, because I just got to put a line through some of my tactics, because what I did was I sort of lulled everyone into telling me their secrets, and then I've used that to lever them into creating tribe campaigns. So that's probably a cross next to that. But
that's a black mark.
Yeah, okay. I just had a listen. So on the last day, I think we sort of, for 3 minutes, we get up and make a stand, what are you going to do from here after the sort of 5-day immersive experience? And I just listened to it, because what I also did was put it in my voice memos for 3 minutes. I listened to it every now and then, but it was basically, some of the thoughts that came out of it was, the acknowledgement that the person that got me here is not the same person that will get me to the next stage. So all those good things, do I need to unlearn? Those qualities help me, but there's also now qualities in that which are holding me back. One of the big areas, and what I was needing to crack the nut that year, and it's amazing listening to that, I actually have. I'm listening to that going, I've moved and evolved since then, which was me being controlling and trying to control the outcome and micromanaging my team, assuming that I knew what was best, and that and it was, a lot of the good stuff was, rather than lighting a fire under them, it's best to just light a fire within them. And what I was doing is, here's the fear. If we don't do this, and the other one that I loved was, just the measure of a good leader is how many other leaders, they can develop, as opposed to it just being about them. And so it's really nice. So I want to unpack. So that's sort of the TMA Marketing Academy stuff, but let's use you as a resource here for those people that may never get involved necessarily in Marketing Academy, but to be able to use you in a quite a unique position. You've got probably, close personal friendships with the biggest marketers on the planet. What do you think they all hold in common?
Well, right now, it's best to really understand that all of the CMOs are feeling just the same as everybody else, right? So it is really tough out there. It's shit. Everybody's thinking, oh my God, when is this all going to be over, this COVID stuff? And they're all feeling that at the moment. But I think there's a few things that mark really excellent CMOs out from others. So one would be the ability to really flex and be adaptable. Real adaptability and resilience is essential. We had a boot camp speaker, I don't know whether it was on your year, Nigel Marsh in Australia, who said that being in the C-suite is like being in constant white water. So constant rapids. and I've never heard it said in a truer way. That's what being on the C-suite is in every context, in every industry. It is white water. And the best CMOs are the ones that are resilient to that. They're the ones that know that they've got to twist and turn at the speed of light. And they do so through their people. So without a shadow of a doubt, the theme that runs through the best CMOs are the ones who are also the best leaders.
What are the qualities you think holding marketers back? Because I would suspect that since you first started this to now, who you have to be as a marketer is very different. Are you noticing that?
Yes. Yeah, I really am. Look, in any kind of crisis, right, when the things are really tough and when the shit hits the fan, empathy and compassion is good, but you will not steer the ship without actually flipping into a style that's much more controlling. And it's very tough for people to understand that. And we teach that usually in like steady state, when business and your organization is in steady state, then there's nothing better than leadership whereby you spend the time and effort really understanding your people and getting them to contribute to the ideas and deciding together the best way forward. But in a crisis situation or any situation where the time is really tight, so things have to happen really quickly and they have to happen in a certain way, the best leaders are the ones that can flip their style into a much more controlling style or a much more authoritarian style without losing the heartbeat of the people. That's what's so important. And you know, there's so few emerging leaders of the in their 30s who have been through a real company crisis or world crisis before, right? So the last recession was the last one. That was back in 2009. If you're in your 30s now, you'd have been in your early 20s then, and you wouldn't have been in a leadership position. So it's the ability to go, right, the shit is at the fan. So just for a short period of time, I'm going to tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Because when you're in crisis, the people are going, will you just tell us what to do? You know, they're full of fear, they're full of uncertainty, they're confused, they're scared for their jobs, they're scared to be able to pay their mortgage. They just want somebody to come in and go, do you know what? Just for now, I need to tell you what to do and how to do it. We will get through this. And then that leader needs to know when that kind of real push, firmer style of leadership needs to be lightened up. Because you can't put pressure on your people for too long without there being significant problems or riots, as is happening in countries, right? That you just, they'll take it for so long and then they'll go, I have had enough, you know, you're pushing me too hard, too fast now, I've had enough.
So what you're saying is you can over-empathize.
It's about balance, Jules, you know, empathy and compassion can't be overdone, really. However, you can't be apologetic about it, because if you're apologetic about it, it means that you're sorry about it. If you're sorry about it, who are you thinking about in that moment?
Yourself.
Yeah, and that's not what leadership is about. So you do need to be able to put yourself in the position of the other person, but being deeply apologetic, waffling about it, skirting around the edge, going, I feel really bad about having to do this. That's not serving them. They don't give a shit. You've just delivered the worst news they could possibly have. So think about how you can support them out of that. But you know, sometimes businesses need to do tough things and leaders need to deliver tough messages. So delivered with clarity, real clarity, and you know, firmness is the right thing to do. The empathy is putting yourself in their position and really deeply feeling what this is going to mean to them. We're so apt to think about what this means for us. You know, all of our scholars and fellows, they're making redundancies all over the place at the moment. It's excruciatingly hard for them. And, you know, they will come to us and go, oh my God, I'm just about to have this conversation with this person. And I'm feeling terrible about it. And we'll go, well, it isn't about you. You know, right here, right now, it isn't about you. You can worry about how you feel about it later. This is about putting their feelings, their emotions first, doing it in the time scale that they need, explaining it in the way that they need, and then ensuring that you're supporting them afterwards. So this is balance. So the balance is the ability to be quite direct, whilst also ensuring that there's a huge element of support behind what you're doing. That's the key, in my view.
Love hearing it. So it's a critical role. And so you're seeking out people that deserve the development to not only get into that role, but do it to the best of its ability. So then the scholarship is so hard to get into, right? And I was on the judging committee last year, and, you know, even on my side, I now realize how difficult and how lucky I was to get through the 3 or 4 rounds. But what is it that you're looking for, right? Because I think I had you at one of the rounds and you were playing the bad cop and you were just drilling me going, What drives you? What drives? Bullshit. What drives you? Why? But why? Why? And I was like, I fucking loved it, because you were peeling back all of my autopilot, jazz hands and sizzle to get to the steak. But what are you looking for? What is the spark that you think can get into that position, is worth your energy and time and access to the network?
Our scholars have got to be able to want to do something with it. That's the most important thing, right? So they need to be future thinking. They need to have oodles of ambition, because there's so many people contribute to this program. So many CEOs and CMOs and executive coaches, they all do it for nothing. The one thing we can do is make sure that their time is invested in the ones who will do the most with it going forward in their lives. So those that are attracted to really making an impact in their lives in one way or another. We're not saying you've got to want to become a CEO, or you've got to want to be, the agency MD, whatever. It isn't about that. It's about the real drive and desire to make a positive impact in the future, because we need to know that they're really going to be able to invest what they learn immediately and going forward. So the hunger for that is really important, and therefore they've got to evidence that in their lives before, prior. We've got to seek evidence. We've got to seek evidence that they're curious, that they're learners, that they're hungry, that they're self-driven, that they take responsibility for their own life and their own learning. Those are the things that we're looking for. They've got to be good at their jobs, of course, but that's why we ask for the employers to endorse them. So you've got to be nominated by somebody in the industry who thinks you're shit hot, and then you've got to get a written endorsement from either your employer or the people you work with if you're an entrepreneur, and we do have places for entrepreneurs. And so other people have got to provide us with the evidence of quite how good you are. But the interview process, the selection process, is really exactly what you said, is I'm peeling the onion, right? We don't care about the gloss. We don't care about the external story. We care far more about the internal narrative. Therefore, we need to look at where you've come from and what's got you here. And then we've got to work out, is it the right time for you? Because you can only ever do it once. And, we interview thousands of people who we think, oh my God, they're absolute scholar potential, but this particular year may not be the right year for them. So we have to make some horrific, King Solomon decisions where you want to be thinking, oh my God, am I going to have to kill my children? It's awful, but we've got a responsibility to them to make sure that we're bringing them onto the program at the right time in their life when they can really make use of it. And we've got to understand quite a lot about them to be able to make those decisions. So, have they got the kind of the innate, and a lot of this is soft, well, what other people would say soft skills, I think that's bollocks, essential kind of life attributes. We need to make sure that there's a few of those that they have, and then we can build on the rest. So it is tough to get in, but people apply multiple times. They get nominated multiple times, and they go through the process multiple times. We've had one scholar that nominated and applied 6 years running, and then it was the right year for her. So, there's always reasons why it's not going to happen. And like I said, you can only ever do the scholarship once. You learn a bit from the process. We get great feedback from people who didn't get through, that they learn a bit about themselves through the process. And then if you've been nominated, you're likely to get invited to some of our amazing learning that we do share outside of just the cohort of 30. We do lots of masterclasses, lots of lectures, lots of learning and workshops for the wider community than just our scholars and fellows. So there is a benefit in doing that.
Yeah, and also, look, I've said to people that haven't got through, I said, look, if I was honest, the fundamentals, you can actually pull together your own curriculum in your own life. Like that's what there was no such thing as TV presenter courses when I was a TV presenter. So, you did some short courses. So I created a year-long course myself, and I got, like I would go every 6 weeks, how I was doing it. Some weeks I'd be recording, scripts of TV shows, and then I'd send the scripts to my cousin who would meet me out with his handycam. So, like I just created my own learning, and I'd say that about the Marketing Academy. So, you got 6 exec, coaching. You could pull those together. You just hire one, right? You could, you got mentors, reach out to people in your industry. You could pull together 5 other people, so you can have your own network to go through the experience together. You could do the Living Leading program. I think she's got a book. There's so much of it that you shouldn't worry about an application to access learning. The key fundamentals is the fact that you should invest in yourself at this time. That's the biggest lesson, and you get that through the application process. So it's paid for by the big ones, right? Facebook and Salesforce and Google, and it goes on, KFC and Unilever and blah, 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 blah. What are you encouraged by their willingness to put money behind merging leaders?
So we wouldn't exist, because what they do is they pay for us to be able to keep the wheels on, right? They keep the engine going. And we've been delighted at how much support we've consistently and constantly got from the industry, from brands, from agencies, from platforms, right across the board.
Why do they do it? Why do they give you the cash?
I think there's a number of reasons. So firstly, it is quite philanthropic, right? So I know that there's a driver in all of our sponsors and partners that they want to develop this industry. They want to be doing good in this industry. They want a legacy from the investment that they put in, and they can actually see that panning out within the academy. They're inspired by talent development, especially the brands. I mean, we've got KFC and Mars, and we've got BT in the UK, and Combank and IAG in Australia, the brands. They can access our learning for their people. So they are dedicated to developing their talent, and we enable them to get the development, and then we enable them to be able to shout about how much they're into developing their talent. And then some of the platforms, they want to be good citizens, right? They want to invest in the industry. So that's people like Facebook and Google and Salesforce. They're doing it to invest in the industry in the future.
You just got to be in the industry, nominate someone. It's free.
So just go to themarketingacademy.org. That's the main website, and then just click the flag of the country that you're interested in. And nominations for all the scholarships are open right now. Applications for the 2 CMO fellowships are open right now. And that program is about enabling the CMO to become a CEO. That's the focus of that particular program. Just hit the website, and you can download all of the brochures. You can see our community. So 250 mentors around the world, 140 executive coaches around the world, 125 speakers around the world, and 700 alumni of either the scholarship or the fellowship program. And they're all on the websites by country, so you can actually see who's involved. Those wonderful, generous people that gift all of their time into developing the talent, they're all on our website.
Starts with you, sister. You are one of my favorite people on the planet. I have so much to be thankful for. Genuinely, I don't think anything's had as much impact on my personal, professional life as the Marketing Academy. And thank you also in just putting me in touch, selfishly, putting me in touch with such great brains that we can put it onto video and share with as many people as possible. So it's like those mentor sessions, but just more scalable and shareable. So thank you.
It's a pleasure, darling. An absolute pleasure. What a lovely way to start my day.